Istanbul Mayor Ekrem Imamoglu is a significant political rival to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He was arrested on March 19, 2025. The arrest followed a dramatic raid on his home, with approximately 200 police officers conducting this operation, which was widely seen as orchestrated by President Erdogan himself. Imamoglu was subsequently indicted on highly questionable charges, including baseless claims of corruption and even terrorism. He vehemently denies all these charges. His detention marked a critical escalation in the political tensions gripping Turkey, signaling a bold move by Erdogan against a popular opponent. Many observers viewed this as a direct assault on a leading figure, as Imamoglu is widely tipped as a future presidential contender. The groundwork for Imamoglu's political neutralization was laid meticulously. Just one day before his arrest, on March 18, 2025, Istanbul University controversially annulled his bachelor's degree, which had been earned 31 years prior. The annulment, based on a minor technicality, was critically significant, as Turkey's constitution mandates that presidential candidates must possess a university degree. This action appeared designed to block any future presidential run. Alongside Imamoglu, around 100 other individuals were arrested, including city officials and fellow members of Imamoglu's Republican People's Party, or CHP. The arrests occurred just 4 days before the CHP's scheduled presidential primary, where Imamoglu was the sole candidate. The arrest of Ekrem Imamoglu acted as an immediate catalyst for widespread public fury, triggering Turkey's largest anti-government demonstrations in over a decade. These protests were not confined to Istanbul. They rapidly spread throughout the majority of Turkey's provinces, indicating a nationwide discontent with the current political climate. In Istanbul, the heart of the opposition, some demonstrations drew more than 1 million participants. A notable characteristic of these crowds was the significant presence of young people, suggesting a growing disillusionment among the next generation. They seemed increasingly unhappy with Erdogan's long-standing rule and his progressively authoritarian tactics. The public response was multifaceted and demonstrated considerable organization, combining traditional street demonstrations with innovative forms of resistance. Boycotts of businesses known to be pro-Erdogan were organized and gained traction among the populace. Online activism played a crucial role in disseminating information quickly and mobilizing citizens effectively. Acts of civil disobedience became more common as a form of peaceful protest. While the demonstrations were largely peaceful in nature, the government's response was swift and severe. In the initial days following Imamoglu's detention, approximately 2,000 people were arrested by authorities. Many of these detainees were students, further highlighting the generational aspect of the dissent. President Erdogan's consolidation of power has been a gradual but relentless process, beginning with his ascent to national leadership in 2003. A significant early challenge to his authority emerged in 2013 with the Gezi Park protests. These demonstrations, initially focused against a controversial urban development plan, quickly grew into wider anti-government rallies. Erdogan's government responded with a harsh crackdown on the protesters, setting a clear precedent for suppressing dissent in the years that followed. Years later, individuals were still being targeted for their alleged involvement in these events. Civil society leader Osman Kavala was eventually sentenced to life imprisonment for supposedly organizing and financing these protests. More recently, in January 2025, talent agency owner Ayse Barim was arrested and charged in connection with the same 2013 Gezi Park events. A pivotal moment in Erdogan's path towards greater authoritarianism was the failed coup attempt in July 2016. In the immediate aftermath, President Erdogan declared a state of emergency across the country, granting him sweeping new powers. He then initiated a massive purge across numerous state institutions. Over 125,000 individuals were either dismissed from their positions or arrested by authorities. This extensive list included civil servants, military officers, academics, teachers, judges, and prosecutors. The sheer scale of this purge effectively neutralized many potential sources of opposition within the state apparatus, creating a pervasive climate of fear that deterred future challenges to his rule and significantly altered the landscape of Turkish civil society and state bureaucracy. The political system itself was then fundamentally reshaped to cement Erdogan's authority further. A controversial constitutional referendum was held in 2017, narrowly passing and transforming Turkey's long-standing parliamentary system into a highly centralized presidential one. This new system concentrated power significantly in the hands of the president, effectively eroding the traditional separation of powers and visibly weakening the rule of law in the country. Furthermore, between 2014 and 2020, Erdogan's government initiated investigations into approximately 160,000 Turkish citizens accused of allegedly insulting the president. This led to around 35,000 prosecutions, further stifling free speech and critical voices within Turkey. The targeting of political opponents through the legal system became a defining hallmark of Erdogan's tenure. Selahattin Demirtas, a prominent Kurdish opposition leader, has been incarcerated since 2016, receiving a lengthy 42-year prison sentence for charges of undermining state unity and an additional 3 years for insulting Erdogan. Ekrem Imamoglu himself faced legal challenges prior to his March 2025 arrest. In 2022, he was put on trial for allegedly insulting members of the country's electoral council, sentenced to prison time, and banned from participating in politics, although this sentence was suspended pending the outcome of his appeal. Even business leaders critical of state practices, like those from the Turkish Industry and Business Association in early 2025, faced criminal investigations for their public statements. President Erdogan's once seemingly unshakable popularity has shown clear signs of significant erosion in recent times. Recent polling data paints a compelling picture of growing public fatigue with his extended leadership. A March 2024 Pew Research Center survey, for instance, revealed that 55% of Turkish adults held an unfavorable opinion of Erdogan. This negative sentiment was further reflected in subsequent electoral results, where his Justice and Development Party, or AKP, suffered notable losses in the 2024 municipal elections, including ceding control of several key cities to opposition parties. These indicators strongly suggest that a significant portion of the electorate is increasingly dissatisfied with the current direction of the country under his rule and is actively seeking political alternatives. The specific actions taken against Ekrem Imamoglu appear to have further alienated segments of the Turkish public. A recent Conda poll indicated that more than 60% of Turkish citizens do not believe the accusations that have been leveled against the detained Istanbul mayor. This widespread skepticism highlights a growing credibility gap for the government. The same Conda poll found that 67% of Turkish respondents believe Erdogan's re-election would be bad for the country, a stark increase from 49% recorded in a similar poll conducted in 2023. In a powerful display of solidarity and support, after Imamoglu's arrest, his opposition party invited all Turkish citizens to participate in the March 23 presidential primary, where over 15 million Turks reportedly cast symbolic ballots for the jailed Imamoglu. The political turmoil sparked by Imamoglu's arrest had immediate and severe economic repercussions for Turkey. The country's already struggling economy faced fresh and intensified instability. On March 21, 2025, just 2 days after the arrest, the Turkish lira plummeted to record lows against major international currencies. This sharp devaluation prompted urgent and costly action from the nation's central bank, which was forced to spend an estimated $46 billion in precious foreign exchange reserves in a desperate attempt to prevent a further collapse of the lira. The instability also deeply rattled the Turkish stock market, where circuit breakers were repeatedly deployed to halt rapid and alarming declines in share prices, underscoring the fragility of investor confidence. These dramatic economic events swiftly and significantly eroded confidence in the two-year-old stabilization measures, which had been carefully designed and implemented with the aim of improving Turkey's foreign exchange balances and taming rampant inflation. The sudden political crisis, directly linked to President Erdogan's aggressive moves against Imamoglu, effectively scared off potential foreign investment. International investors, who are crucial for maintaining economic stability and growth, became increasingly wary, concerned by the heightened political risk and the growing unpredictability of the Turkish market. This economic downturn, therefore, can be seen largely as a self-inflicted wound, a direct consequence of domestic political decisions that prioritize the suppression of opposition over economic prudence and long-term stability. President Erdogan currently finds himself in an increasingly precarious political position, appearing to be fighting for his political survival. His current presidential mandate is set to end in 2028, and critically, he is constitutionally limited to 2 terms in office, a restriction that complicates his future ambitions. His deepening unpopularity, as clearly evidenced by recent polls and disappointing election results for his party, has significantly diminished his ability to unilaterally change the constitution, a change that would be necessary to extend his rule. Similarly, the option of forcing early elections, a political tactic he has successfully used in the past, now seems far less viable. Polls consistently suggest that if a presidential election were held imminently, Erdogan would likely not secure a victory against a unified opposition, particularly one potentially led by a figure like Imamoglu. Despite the government's concerted efforts to control the public narrative and suppress dissent, defiance continues. On May 8, 2025, Turkish authorities took the drastic step of blocking access within Turkey to Ekrem Imamoglu's account on X, formerly known as Twitter. This social media account, with its substantial 9.7 million followers, had been Imamoglu's primary means of communicating with the public from his prison cell, relaying daily messages via his lawyers. Istanbul prosecutors are reportedly investigating his posts for potentially inciting a crime. However, this attempt at suppression was met with further public protests. Tens of thousands of people rallied in Istanbul, responding to a call from the jailed Imamoglu, clearly demonstrating the limits of such repressive governmental measures. Adding another layer of complexity to the already tense political landscape are recent developments in the long-standing Kurdish issue. In May 2025, a dialogue initiated by President Erdogan's nationalist coalition partner culminated in a significant announcement. The Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, formally renounced its 40-year armed struggle against the Turkish state and declared its intention to dismantle itself. However, President Erdogan has appeared notably unenthusiastic about this potential peace dividend, with his public discourse remaining predominantly focused on security issues and maintaining a punitive tone. This contrasts sharply with Kurdish leaders' strategic requests for broader democratization within Turkey, calling for a state governed by the rule of law with a genuine separation of powers, a vision seemingly at odds with Erdogan's current approach. Ultimately, President Erdogan's aggressive actions against Ekrem Imamoglu and the ensuing widespread crackdown appear to have backfired significantly. Instead of quashing dissent as perhaps intended, these moves have galvanized the opposition forces and fueled widespread public discontent across various segments of Turkish society, creating what many political analysts are now describing as a self-made crisis for the president. His increasingly authoritarian measures are meeting stronger and more organized resistance, both on the streets and in the court of public opinion. Erdogan's political future, once seemingly secure and unassailable, now looks increasingly uncertain. These events may well herald a pivotal shift in Turkish politics, potentially paving the way for a more democratic, albeit challenging future for the nation, as it grapples with his complex legacy.